Welcome, welcome everybody. Hope you had a nice day so far. So I will play one PvP match and then I will debate and give you my opinion, my take on the balance patch that they announced yesterday. And I was really surprised, I have to be honest, that they will release a balance patch quite soon. Because the last one we got on the 11th of February, and typically they do it on a 3 months cadence, roughly. So the next one will happen in middle of April. So 15th of April. That means it's 2 months almost exactly after the last one. Yes, the last one got a little bit delayed, but not by that much. So very interesting. And I have to be honest, it's also not, you know, crazy reworks and completely changing everything, I think. And I give you my full take, my detailed analysis of the upcoming patch after this PvP match. We want to go over all, every single trait and stuff they change. But in general, I think it's good if they do multiple balance patches more than just 4 a year and change stuff that is overperforming, especially in competitive modes, and just tune numbers. You know, you don't have to make reworks every time, but I feel like they should, in the big, let's say every 3 months, they should make big balance patches where they rework stuff that is completely underused. I think that would make sense. For example, my best example would be either Weaver or Elementalist Pistols. I think those two are very underperforming or very lackluster in what they want to do or what they can achieve. So I think that's something that I would change personally, that they, in the big balance patches every 3 months, would address something like that, that you would have something that is really changing how a weapon is played, how a spec is played, how a trait line interacts with each other, and then you have very small, just number changes, and just some really overperforming builds get nudged down a bit, and some really lackluster builds get a little bit of love and a little bit of more damage, for example. I think that would make sense. I think having very frequent balance patches, I'm always happy with that as a veteran. And I don't want them to change stuff around all the time so that you have to swap your gear in PvE. I think that would be really annoying. But just changing the damage numbers makes, in my opinion, sense, so that you have, for example, a build that does 47k DPS will get nudged down to maybe have 44k or something. That is, in my opinion, something that they should do every now and then, and not only every half a year or something. That's not what I like, but I don't know. Let me know your take there as well. Let's see how it turns out. Typically, they always say, yes, we want feedback and stuff from the players. Maybe we will change something, but typically they don't. So let's probably pretend they will not change anything. But yeah, I think the patch in general is not bad. There were worse for sure in the past. I don't know. We will see. We will see how it's turn out. It's still almost a month away, so 3 weeks, even more. It's crazy. It's quite a bit of time ahead, so we can do some theory crafting. We also don't know all the numbers. Sometimes they just say it's increased. We don't know how much. So let's see. The queue times in the morning are horrible. That much is for sure. Hopefully we get a good match. Probably not. Probably not if you play in the morning on EU. It's horrible. But at least we can have some fun, I guess. As always, if you have any questions, any feedback, please let me know. And yeah, let's have some fun together in Guild Wars. Later I have also very special things planned for the stream. So last week we got interesting debate about roaming going. And that roaming in Guild Wars 2 and World vs. World is very... There are some builds that are really good, and most of the builds are somewhat decent and you can play them. But there is a couple of builds that is really, really bad. I would say even trash. You shouldn't really play them. And one of them I mentioned is Core Revenant. And now I'm a little bit on the hunt because I never played core in roaming because I think it's just very bad. And now I'm trying to prove that it's really bad and really try to make a build for it that actually works. Really trying, really challenge myself if I can come up with something that works. And I want to try that today on stream. Maybe I can make it work for roaming. Let's see. I think it will be a challenge for sure. Welcome, Filthy, welcome. Okay, so who do we have here? 2 Mirages, a Reaper, and a Tempest. Okay. Okay. I mean that looks winnable for sure. Yeah, I mean our team comp is scuffed, that much is for sure, but I mean what do we expect in the morning? What do we expect? Hope you had a nice day, everyone in stream. Sure, what is the question regarding my Berserker build? Which Berserker build are you referring to? The open world one or the world versus world and PvP version? Because they are completely different, of course. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm not sure if that's better. We have a Catalyst now instead of a Necromancer. Okay, what's your question? What's your question? Always happy to answer questions. Okay. They're swapping around like crazy. It's actually insane. What are they doing? So tryharding, and then I'm not sure if it's working. Okay. I guess we focus the Deadeye. Yeah, Fractal Relic is extremely strong, especially I would say on open world and all corny builds, it's extremely strong. It gives you so much more DPS. But you can easily swap that. If you need some more survivability, it's not necessary. Yeah. Fire Relic is interesting, but the sad part, and that's the thing here about Fire Relic is that it only gives you strike damage. So it doesn't give you condi damage. And then that's just bad. Yeah. That's just straight up. Oh my god.
The waterfall is yours.
Don't rest, please. Shit. Look at this. What is this? 3 hits killed me in seconds. So the thing is, Fire Relic just gives you strike damage. And strike damage is not good for a Condi build, especially if you're playing weapons like Longbow, where you don't... I would say the power damage is decent, but it's not crazy, so you don't really... The value is there, but it's not as good as if it would give you Condi damage as well. I know you get it very frequently, but... I guess we kill this guy? Oh, that doesn't feel good. Yeah, it's Celestial, it's true. It gives you some power damage value as well because you're playing Celestial, I get that. But the problem is a Celestial build, you have to always to think about that. Like a Celestial build typically gets more value from condition damage than it gets from power damage. That's just straight up the case, because if you play weapons that only scale with power, you don't run Celestial, because then why would you want condition damage? So typically you run a weapon that scales with power and condition damage, and typically those weapons are balanced in a way that you get more value from having, let's say, more condition favored gears sets, yeah? So that's why I would say, get this guy. It's actually insane how much people are on me all the time. Why are we against 4 people? Okay, yeah. You can, if you go full Viper, then I would say then it's fine. Then you have way more power, and then I would say Fire Relic is fine. But at this point, I would say you are playing a very aggressive build, and you might also swap to some kind of raiding build at this point. But I get what you mean. I think that's a fair point. Yeah, yeah. But like I said, I'm not sure if it's worth it just for the relic to say, okay, I'm going full aggressive. I mean, it might make sense. Why are there 4 people? Okay, this guy is so dead. Oh, this dead eye. Ah. I hate dead eyes. Look at this. Annoying. You think Condi Berserker with Fireway would be good in raids? The problem is, I think this Fire Relic should have baseline condition damage as well. So it should give you condition damage and power damage. I think both of it should be on there. Because it's not very easy to acquire for most people to get consistent Fire Aura uptime. And I think most builds want to be Condi or power and not have only power with Fire Auras. I think that's just... Okay. Yeah, this guy's probably there. Hate the dead eye. It's just really annoying. At least we win the fight. By the way, I half-cooked, rediscovered a monster scrapper build in PvP and PvE too, to be honest. Interesting, very interesting. I think scrapper in PvP is, you play it with nades and you play it with super speed, and that's how you play it. Everything else doesn't work at all. But maybe you cooked something crazy. I mean, I'm always open for some crazy cooks, and that's what I enjoy after all, you know. So let me know if it worked. Let me know. Okay, this guy is dead. Ooh, Sage. Okay, very interesting. I mean, Spear makes sense. Spear is really, really good. Okay, this guy is so dead. I should have him. No, never mind. Yeah, that I think Tyrant Amulet with Spear is a very good option. The reason is that Core Engineer is really good with Spear, and you could make a Scrapper build with that as well. Typically, I would say Scrapper, the problem is Scrapper doesn't provide a lot of utility when it comes to condition damage because of the gyros. The gyros don't give you any real condi damage, so that's true. But it's very nice that you have gyros because they give you super speed potentially. So that's something that you want, of course. So I would say it's a decent idea for sure. Give me a target. Okay, this guy's dead. I don't know, this match is so cursed, I have to be honest. This is so cursed. I die way too often, but I'm always outnumbered, so I don't know where I'm going, it doesn't matter. Finished placements, then I had university work and delayed to bronze. Lost a game and got minus 30 over. I mean, the thing is, don't worry, Nivox, it's the rating that you get matched with will be before your decay. So when you decay to bronze, you don't get into a bronze match. You will still be gold, platinum, wherever you are in the terms of rating. It's just the, let's say, the effective rating you have stays the same, but you can't get, so for example, the leaderboard stuff. That's the idea here. Oh, the wall killed me there. Yeah, this is not winnable. Yeah. Now for the upgrades, I went with Rune Balthasar and Chronomancer Relic. I mean, Chronomancer Relic makes a lot of sense on Scrapper. Balthasar makes also sense. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a decent build. I'm not sure if it's, you know, meta or anything, but I think it looks like it should work for sure. I mean, yeah. But I can feel Universe, by the way. I'm winning a match and getting, I don't know, not a lot of points, and then I lose, and then I get 30 minus. This guy should be there. It's not winnable anymore. Maybe we can try. We got the decap. It feels so bad if you have to. Oh, I can't actually fight against the Deadeye. I mean, it's fine. It doesn't, you know, the thing is, if you cook a build and the build is working decently well, it doesn't matter what the people in your match think about it, you know? If you can make it work to some extent and it's decent, it does some kind of its job, then it's fine, you know? Why would you do it? Why would you not play it? It's completely fine. I get it. Okay, so now let's take a look. I would say, I hate this bug. If you leave too soon, then you get back into the match. Why does that happen, actually? So, I wanted to talk about the PvP, or not the PvP, but the general balance patch. So, let's take a look at it, yeah? Shall we? There we go. So, I wanted, hope you can all see it. So, the balance patch will happen at April 15th. And we get the update, the preview, right now. And I will go over all the changes, and I will explain what I think about them. And will also give my, let's say, take in if they will change a lot of stuff. Because I think that's what a lot of people are interested in, is will it change their builds or will it not affect anything? And I can already tell you, this is not the biggest patch. It's more like this update will largely be a tuning update, yeah? So it's not, don't suspect to have any major reworks in here. It's not gonna happen, yeah? Okay, so let's start with the general idea here. We get general stuff, nothing crazy. Will we get a rework, or not rework, but a fix of a bug with Fireworks Valley? Okay, I guess that's fine. Nothing too crazy. Warrior fans will like it, but other than that, I think it's okay. Let's talk now about Elementalist. And Elementalist, on the contrary to a lot of beliefs, we actually get a lot of buffs here. So we get a lot of buffs regarding especially Hammer. A lot of Hammer skills gets power buffs in PvE, and we get a buff actually to Polaric Leap, which is interesting, and now applies weakness as well, which is a condition that Elementalist really doesn't have too much access to if you don't play Lightning Rod, so that's really interesting. But also increased Flame Uprising, which is I think the 2 skill from Fire and on Sword. That's really nice. You have now 2 stacks. That's a buff, you know. That's straight up a buff. You get 2 stacks instead of 1, and reduce the duration from 6 to 4 seconds. So the duration is reduced, not halved, but reduced, and we get double the amount. So you get, let's say, more just value from the condition already. You get more damage from this change. And don't forget, you're playing World vs. World in PvP with this one. And that means if you have a longer duration, typically it's very likely to get cleansed. But if it's a short duration, it's very likely to actually deal all the damage. So this is a double buff in that sense. This is really good. I'm not sure if that will make any Weaver build or something Condi build with Sword typically matter. Just one change, probably not, but it's the right direction. Regarding the hammer buffs, that's definitely good, especially if you liked my One for All build or my Celestial Hammer Catalyst build. That's just straight up crazy. They buffed it again. So hammer apparently in solo builds is absolutely insane now. So nice. We like that. Crazy buffs here. We get some Weaver buffs. So Weaver is interesting because Weaver is not getting changes that I would say affect a lot. Yes, we get more damage in PvE, but yeah, that's good, I guess. But I think Weaver needs some help in competitive modes regarding stability, regarding protection. I think that's not changing anything for competitive modes. Catalyst gets an interesting rework in World vs. World. So you now need to have Spectacular Sphere equipped, the trait, to actually get the quickness. Normally you would get the quickness in air, but now it only gives you Fury, and you need to have the trait to get quickness too. I think that makes sense because then you have to invest more of your traits into this to get quickness. I think that makes sense. That makes Catalyst a little bit more balanced, and you have to drop the Staunch Aura, which gives you the stability on auras. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that's a very fair change because it's not changing anything if you have the Spectacular Sphere trait, but it changes if you have the Staunch Aura trait. You don't have access to quickness. I think that's totally fair. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure, Filthy. I think the staff, they never touch staff anymore. I think they are happy that staff is a support weapon. They are not really caring about the damage of staff for Elementalist. I think that's a big problem. I think they should definitely address it. And I also think they should address pistols. But I don't know. It's just, there are a lot of things that I think they should address. I guess those changes are actually okay. I like them where they are going. It's just too little for Elementalist. I think there will not be crazy changes in the meta, I would say. Yeah. That's in the forums, yes. Yeah. I can send you the link in a second. There we go. That's the link. Yeah, I mean, of course you can support, in my opinion, with staff and have damage. I think that would be, in general, I think fair. But I think they are really scared of having a hybrid weapon on Elementalist because they have a hybrid weapon, for example, with Spear on Guardian, and it was already broken. And if you give Elementalist a hybrid weapon that is designed in some kind of healing and power damaged version, then that will probably lead to some kind of monstrosity because you have 4 times the amount of skills than a Guardian had with the weapon. So 4 times the support, 4 times the damage sounds crazy. Just saying, yeah, just saying. They are this. Yes, today we will do some Core Revenant actually. We will try to get some Core Revenant going, Roaming Spirit. Don't worry. Actually coming true, your dream. I guess most Elementalist weapons are somewhat hybrid, that's true, but I think Staff is a special case because Staff is hybrid in that sense that it has some power damage baked in, it has a lot of healing baked in, it has a lot of CC baked in, and I think those 3 components are not existing on a lot of other weapons because, and it's 1200 range, don't forget that. So they don't want to buff it too much in the damage compartment because then it will go crazy in World vs. World for sure. Okay, now let's talk about Engineer. So Engineer is interesting. They nerfed a little bit the damage from the Condi mech and give more power to Power Mech. I think Power Mech was really underused, and now it's a little bit better because they give rival buffs in PvE only, which is, I think, fair. I mean, it was a really easy build to play, and I think it's good if they buff it to make it a little bit more worthwhile to play. They nerf a little bit of just Holosmith damage, and that's okay, I guess. I think Holosmith was really good in World vs. World, so that's where they nerf it. And they buff Super Elixir, and we get to that in a second. Why? Because they will buff Scrapper. No, not Scrapper, sorry. They will buff Holosmith with the Heartlight Arena, so that is the thing that gives you a lot of protection pulses, and the Heat Therapy in PvP. So they really want to get the, how's it called, Prot Holo back. So a build where you play a Bruisery Holosmith in PvP that cleanses condition whenever it applies protection to it and has a lot of protection uptime. So I think that's an interesting idea, but I think I'm also quite scared because this build is on paper already broken, because having protection makes you get less damage from power-based builds, and having a lot of cleanses makes you immune to condis. So what are you going to die to if that's going to be the case? So I think they should be really careful with that one. But I think they made the right choice here to nerf a little bit of the damage from Holosmith, because it was a little bit better than all the other DPS in World vs. World. And then we have some changes to Mechanist. Yeah, I don't know. Mechanist, just some more power damage changes, and that's about it. But we also got some changes to support Scrapper in World vs. World. I think it was the same as Holosmith, just in the support compartment. I think it's still very playable as well as Holosmith. They just got a little bit nudged down to be a little bit more on par with the other supports or DPS respectively. I think that makes sense. Yeah. So I think Engineer buffs and nerfs, I guess that's how it goes, and mostly affect only some part of the game and not all of it. So I think if you're an Engineer enjoyer, you will probably be okay with it. Nothing too crazy changed here, I have to say. In my opinion, they only changed some PvE stats to PvP in World vs. World. In PvE, almost every fire skill does apply burning. In World vs. World, in PvP, only 2 or 3, so not even the attacks. You can even play stuff as a condi weapon. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Can you link the link of the next patch? Yes, I already did just a minute ago. Let me do it once again. I can also pin it, I guess. There we go. I'm not sure. I think the balance changed. This one is really small. It's not a big one. It's just changing some numbers for the most part. It's not really crazy. And I think even the number changes that they do will not affect the meta in a way that you would say, okay, I'm not playing Holosmith and Zerg anymore. That's not the case. It will just be a little bit tuned down so that you might still be top DPS, but it's very close to the others. So I don't know. It's not really changing a lot. That's just how it is. No, it doesn't have more changes, not at all. The last one was 11th of February, and that one had way more changes. And I'm not talking about the amount of changes, you know. That's also the case, but I think that's not important. I think what you should think about is how it affects the things, you know. If you have 100 changes that don't affect anything, I would rather have 20 changes that change stuff, yeah. I think the amount is unnecessary high often. They just have something that changes some numbers that no one really cared about, you know. So, I don't know. You know, for example, this Heat Therapy increased base healing from 34 to 39. Yes, that's a buff, but I'm not sure if this alone will make Holosmith viable in PvP. Probably not. It's more like the meta around it has to change a little bit to make it worthwhile. For example, this one is probably a way better change. 10 seconds off the cooldown, something like that. But just saying, yeah. I don't know. But okay, let's go to Guardian now. So Guardian is interesting. This is the pistol skill that is really annoying to use. I really never used this one correctly, or at least I think it's just a very annoying skill to use. And now it's more consistent. That's good. And the cooldown in PvP and World vs. World is down. I guess that's fine. I like this change. Regarding Firebrand, they reduced the dormant duration, so how often it activates the passive in PvE and PvP, which is interesting. 30 seconds off of this one is actually crazy, but it's not that crazy good of a, let's say, buff, because typically you have either the passive not up anyway, or you just use it passively, and it's not crazy that much of a change, but I think it's a good buff. We get some page reduction again to PvP Firebrand buffs. I guess that makes sense. And World vs. World nerfs. Yeah, I mean, Firebrand is very, very popular in World vs. World, so I guess it makes sense to nerf the quickness, because that's the general gist of this patch. We nerf quickness access in World vs. World. It will not be as Alacrity, where we have no Alacrity to share at all, but it will be more intentionally. So you have to use a skill to give quickness for the next 2 seconds or something, and not apply quickness all the time. We also have that here with the catalyst change, that we don't have too much quickness share, or it's a little bit harder to come by. Tyrant's Momentum got a little bit nerfed in PvE. That means that your Condi Willbender is a little bit lower in DPS, but so I think you stack up to 5 of those, so it means 5% damage nerf. Yeah, that's notable for sure, but it's still a very good build. It will not change anything regarding your gear, and you will still be able to play Willbender with a very high benchmark. Will not be the highest one, probably, but still. So Guardian overall, I would say, got, for the most part, actually very little and mostly buffs, just some small changes. I think that's okay. It's just some numbers nudging. That's it. I mean, I would say support Firebrand in PvP and World PvE is okay to buff. I think it's not, don't get me wrong here, Filthy. I think those changes are not like, oh my god, it's now perfect. Everyone wants to run it, especially in PvP. Those numbers are so high and they are passive. It's not changing that you want to play this build. It's more like those changes that can help, but in PvE, I guess it's fine to have more passives up often. I mean, that makes sense. I'd just say it's not changing the meta completely, but it's better than actually have something. Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's fine to make small changes that are in the correct direction. I think that's fine, but I would rather have also some big changes that actually shake up the meta. Not only some numbers changes that leave the meta as it is, but yeah, are there to have some number changes. Now let's talk about Mesmer. Mesmer is interesting because Mesmer did not get a lot of changes, but the changes that they add are actually affecting stuff. That's the only class where I would say all of the changes are somewhat affecting. So the first one is Illusion and Membrane. So this gave you condition damage when you got Chaos Aura, and now you get a buff, yeah, that you get when you get Chaos Aura that increases your Condi damage. I think that's not a nerf or a buff, it's just a change to make it more consistent, because for example Elementalist with Tempest had that with Tempest's area. So I think it makes sense to make a little bit more consistency, but it's not really a balance change. It's just a vision change, so that you can see it more clearly. But we get buffs to Greatsword. I think that's a lot of people's favorite weapon for range. I think Greatsword is really nice. Mirror Blade and Phantasmal Berserker just get a buff. It's good. I like it. It's very outclassed by Spear for the most part, and I think it's good to have some option for range power damage as well. So I think that's a good change for sure. Especially as the Phantasmal Berserker is in all game modes, so that can help in World vs. World, it can help in PvP. It's really good. Really, really good. Then we have a change to Chronomancer. So this is the trait that you use on a DPS Chronomancer. And that makes now the damage modifier of your Phantasms normally would be 100% in PvE. So it will just deal the same amount of damage that it did the first time it spawned. It will now deal more damage the second time it spawns, which is really interesting because that's a damage buff, of course. But it's a damage buff that is backloaded. So that means that the first Phantasm you spawn will actually have less damage than the second one. And that means you are very bad in bursting. And that means you are even worse than you were before in that sense, because your damage will be higher in total if you have a long phase. But if you have a short phase, your damage will stay the same. And it was already a build that was really unique because it was a power build that had a ramp up time. And now it will have an even higher ramp up time, which is really, really fun. And it's a really cool design. But I'm not sure if it will be really a power meta build, because it's just, why would you use a power build that is having a ramp up time? Why would you use that? In which circumstances is that actually working out? Only if the damage in total will be higher than all other Mesmer builds, then it might see a play. But I think it's a cool change. Then again, we get the quickness nerf in World vs. World. It's still playable, it's just a little bit less duration. I guess that makes sense. And then we got a change nerf to PvE Power Virtuoso. Phantasmal Blades was probably the best damage skill that you had on Power Virtuoso. It was a trait and gave you the most damage. And now it got actually a significant nerf. I would say this now brings Power Virtuoso actually in a spot where I would say it's not the highest DPS option anymore for Mesmer, Power Mesmer. I think Power Mirage will have higher damage on paper. And with this change, maybe even Power Chronomancer. I'm not sure, I did not try it yet. But that might actually make Chronomancer the highest power DPS option of Mesmer. Maybe. Very interesting. I think Power Virtuoso will still be completely fine. It will just not be as crazy as it was before because it has range damage, it has distortion. It's just very, very overloaded in PvE. So I think, again, nothing too crazy changes here, but it nudges the overperforming build like Power Virtuoso a little bit down to bring it more in line with the other builds. Yeah. Thanks for the follow, Malison. Really appreciate it. And also, Chuster. Really appreciate it too. So now let's talk about Necromancer. So Necromancer again doesn't get a lot of changes. However, those are again a little bit more impactful, at least to World vs. World players. The Grasping Darkness gets a telegraph, which is weird because the telegraph will probably not be really visible in the 50 vs. 50 fight, but again, I guess better than nothing. And the number of targets goes down. I guess that's also just funny because I think it's just a skill that actually looks like it could hit multiple people, now only hits 3, but I guess that's fine. And with that, we also get the reduced range from Spectral Grasp, which is actually a huge nerf for all game modes, especially in PvE where you used to pull in a lot of stuff. With this, it was actually insane. It was probably one of the best pull abilities in the game, and now it's worse. I think that's fair, but it will definitely be a big nerf for all healing scourges, for all Alacrity DPS scourges in PvE, and also DPS scourges that wanted to have some kind of pull. 600 is still a huge pull, but it's way less than 1200 obviously, and this was, especially in World vs. World, really annoying actually. So I think this is a big nerf, but it makes sense. The Spectral Ring change, nothing too crazy, a few seconds of cooldown off, nothing crazy. And then the cast time reduction of Consume Conditions is also nothing crazy. No one used that skill for the most part. I think it's fair to buff it. Also the healing, I guess that's fine. And then we get more healing from Soul Eater, which is the trait in Reaper. And I think 5% more in PvP. It will not make Power Reaper meta, but I think it's a fair buff for sure. Yeah. These changes are taking place at the 15th of April. 15th of April. So this is just a preview, and we have now over 3 weeks to look at them and debate them. There will probably not be any changes to it anymore, but you never know. Yeah. Yeah, I think the changes to Necromancer, those two here, are actually quite big nerfs to Zerg Necromancer. I would agree with you, Roaming Spirit. I wouldn't say that they are changing Necromancer and you can't play it anymore, but it's definitely something that was used. And now it's a little bit, you know, should I still use this or is it not worth it anymore? I think that makes sense, but I think you would not drop the Necromancer just because of those, but it makes it a little bit less insane how much utility you can bring with the pulse. I guess that makes sense. I think that's completely fair. Yeah. Okay, so now let's talk about Ranger. I really wish they nerfed pull in general, that you can't pull through massive objects anymore. I think it's... The problem is, I would agree with you to some extent. It's really annoying if you get pulled across half the battlefield. I think that makes sense. But for me, I think it's also something that you want to have in the World vs. World game mode, because it's something where you can outplay the enemy, you know? You can strip the stability and pull them in and kill them. That makes a lot of sense, in my opinion, in some kind of PvP-focused game mode. But I think having something that oppressive from 1200 range pull and multiple targets is actually insane. It's really insane. So, yeah, I don't know. I think... Yeah, I would agree. Not through objects. That's never something that you want. But I'm not sure if they are aware of it, and we will see. I think they are just sometimes a little bit behind what actually people are doing. Yeah. Yes, I can send you the link. Wow. There it is. Thanks for the sub. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. This is the link, yeah. Yeah, I guess it's... I get what you're saying, Roaming Spirit. I'm just saying that I'm not sure if they are aware of it. That's the only thing. I'm with you. I'm with you. Okay, now let's talk about Ranger. So Ranger is interesting. Ranger just got a big nerf to Spear. You know, they just buffed Spear in PvE and now they nerf it again. The power coefficients go down. I think that makes sense. It was extremely strong as a weapon. I'm not sure if it's still the best weapon. Probably, maybe. I don't know. They seem quite harsh, the nerfs. But let's see if it's really that high of effect. I don't know. Then we get some changes to traits, which is actually really interesting. So they now change some traits like Brutal Seal, Spotter, Taste for Danger to be more specific to pets. So that means you get some effect when you take this trait. For example, deal increased damage to vulnerable enemies, grant fury to nearby allies when you use a beast skill. But it will also grant your pets of a specific species, for example, feline, bird, and drakes, will now get additional crit chance and strike damage when you take this trait. Which is really interesting because that means that you take a trait that gives you a buff for your beast skill, for example. And if you then take the correct pet, you will get an additional buff. I think that's a really cool idea of a trait. I personally think it's a little bit annoying that you have specific things, for example, are in specific trait lines. So for example, this is in skirmishing, this is in wilderness survival, and this is marksmanship. If you want to take, for example, marksmanship, but you want to have a spider for whatever reason, then you have to use wilderness survival to buff it. I mean, for the most part, it makes sense. If you're playing Condi, you will probably use this wilderness survival trait line and you will use the spiders, probably. But I think I always am a little bit locking out traits that buff stuff that might be useful for other trait lines as well is a little bit annoying. But I think it's a fun interaction of having two things with one trait that makes sense. I think that's cool. I think those are really interesting changes for sure. I'm not sure if it will affect the meta in any way, because you will probably run the same traits, or for the most part, and you will probably run the same pets, but I guess it's still fine. I like it, yeah. Then, this is just straight up a buff to Allies 8. I guess that's fine. And Beast Warden is also, yeah, a little bit of a buff, just like the other traits. Now gives Ursan and Poseidon pets a little bit more health and strike damage. I guess that's fine. So Ranger overall, I would say spear nerfs, and other than that, just buffs straight up. I guess that's fine, yeah. I think nothing too crazy will change here for the most part. Welcome, Snowdrop Fox, welcome. Can you explain how the Willbender 1% change affected? It seems very little, but I don't really have an idea if it's a big nerf or not. So Willbender gets Tyrant's Momentum when you have the trait, or just in general when you have Willbender. And this is a trait that increases your outgoing damage. And this is 1%, yes, but it stacks. So there will be 5 stacks of Tyrant's Momentum, I think, that you can get consistently. So you get a big damage buff. And if each stack gives you 1% less damage, that means that you get in total, we can take a look at it actually in game, give me a second. You can also take a look at it in game. Each stack will give you less of those things. So you have maximum of 5 stacks. Each of those stacks will give you 5% damage and 5% condi damage if you have this trait. Yeah. And that means that the change that they now make is 1% less per stack, in total 5%. And if you have a benchmark of around 45k, 5% is actually noticeable, the damage that you get nerfed there. It will still be a very good pick for PvE. Don't get me wrong, it will still be a very good condi build, bursty condi build actually. But it will definitely have an impact on the game. It will not change what you use, it will use the same traits, it will use the same gear, but it will affect how much damage you in total will do. That's the big thing here. Which is okay. I think they should do number changes exactly like that, just to make sure that we actually get builds that are a little bit overperforming down to a somewhat clear threshold, and then all builds that are underperforming can go up to this threshold. So that I think we should have VS builds somewhat around the same number. I think that makes sense. It's not changing your gear at all. I think that's the biggest thing that you want to hear. Yeah. Okay, let's now talk about Revenant. So Revenant, they buff Power-Based Renegade and Vindicator in PvE. I think that makes sense. They were both builds that were not that crazy performing. Overall, we get a lot of Renegade buffs. I think that makes sense. It's not a very used elite spec for the most part. It was really hard nerfed in World vs. World, and since then it was only used in PvE, I would say. So I think those buffs just help it. It will not change how much you will see it, just because it still provides alacrity in PvE, and it still somewhat is a annoying DPS. But yeah, that's about it. And we get one change to make Vindicator a bit better. I guess that makes sense. It's a little bit more damage, but it's still a melee build with no utility. So I think it will also not change too much if Vindicator will be meta, but it is a big damage change. So I think that might help to get the number up for sure. We get also Burst of Strength, that is the facet skill of Herald, just a little bit more damage. I think that helps for PvP, of course. Herald is already quite good as a DPS, and now in World vs. World you can use it as a quite nice roamer as well. I guess that's fine. We get an interesting change here that Rolling Miss now grants percentage of outgoing critical strike damage into healing. I'm not sure how much it will be, probably not as high, maybe 1 to 4%, something like that I expect. It's very good actually, I would say, especially if you use that in PvE, where you can deal quite a lot of damage. That can be really fun as a solo build. In PvP and World vs. World, I think it's a nice trade to take, but I'm not sure how much it will be. Yeah. Charge Mist, just a little buff, and other than that, a few changes to some weapon skills, nothing too crazy, I would say. I would say Revenant overall, almost only buffs. Yeah, I think it's only buffs. It's actually nice to see Revenant buffed. I think Revenant was a spec that is, for the most part, in a good spot and could have some help with Renegade and Vindicator. So I would say overall, very nice that they acknowledge this and also buff Revenant, because I think it's good to buff some underperforming specs on Revenant for sure. Yeah, and then let's talk about Thief. So Thief is interesting because they now give Shadow Sep, which is the Scepter 2 skill, a blast finisher. I made a guide about Healing Spectre just a week ago or something, and this is a crazy good buff, I have to be honest, because blast finishers was one of the things that you don't have access too frequently if you're not into Shroud, but with this one you have it. It's actually insane. You can use it so easily with Relic of Karakosa now, because you can spam your 2 skill and proc this Relic consistently. It's actually crazy. It's a huge buff for Electricity Heal Spectre, or for all Spectres actually for that matter. You don't have to play heal to make use out of a blast finisher. You can blast stealth more easily. It's actually a big buff in all game modes as well, because stealth blasting can help you as a roamer in PvP and World vs. World too. It's actually really good. Then we got some changes to those 2 skills and nerfs in PvE. I guess that's fine. And we get a backstab buff. That's interesting, and which is for all game modes here. And oh no, this one is only PvP and World vs. World, as well as the improvisation buff. I mean, that makes sense. Just underused things should get buffed. I think that makes sense. And just across the board, underused things get buffed. I guess the thieves can be happy. I think most thieves will also be happy about the blinding powder chest. At least I am, because this was an instant skill back there in the old days, and now it has a cast time with stability access. I think that's really annoying. I don't like stun break skills that have a cast time, and now it will get back to instant cast and has no longer stability. I think the stability loss is of course sad, but that it's instant is really nice. That's what you like, because you can then stealth while you cast something else. It's really nice. That's what you want. So I think Thief overall, just very happy. Nothing too sad about it, I would say. Yeah, I would say Scepter 2 buff on Thief is actually huge. It's actually crazy. Yeah. Yeah, that's not true. That's not true, Haroon, actually. You can give stability on Spectre. In Spectre Shroud 5, and actually the Well, the yellow Well gives also stability. So you have 2 stability access in Spectre. I think it makes sense to use elite specs to give stability rather than core, because core can be used on Deadeye and Daredevil as well, and I think those specs should not have access to stability that easily, because they are way more squishy and way more aggressive. And I think if you give an aggressive build stability, it's not good. You know, it will lead to having really tough times to deal with it. So I think it's good to remove the stability access from a core, really strong utility skill. That's my take. I know not everyone will agree with that, especially Thief mains probably. Just saying. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's. I think you get also with Daggerstorm, you get stability, but probably that's not what you wanted to hear. Yeah. But I can feel you. I think they might have considered giving Blinding Powder instant and still leaving the stability. But I think then it would be absolutely broken in PvP and World vs. World, because then everyone would run it, always. Because giving stability, stealth, blast finisher, and instant cast stun break is insane. What's the worst nerf in this patch? I think there are not that many nerfs. I think the biggest nerf is actually probably Spear of Ranger. It's probably the biggest nerf, I would say. It gets... I'm not sure what the numbers actually will be in the end, but it will definitely be noticeable, the amount of damage you lose with Spear on all PvE builds. Yeah. But other than that, I think there are not that many big nerfs. I mean, that's a big nerf, obviously. Spectral Grass goes down in range, but I'm not sure if too many Necromancers will just say, okay, I don't play Necromancer anymore just because of this. Okay, so Warrior, last spec to talk about. So just a lot of World vs. World changes again. Snap Pull, Martial Cadence. I mean, it makes sense. Martial Cadence is interesting because it now grants stability instead of quickness. So they really want to go hard on removing quickness in World vs. World or making it less available. And the stability is actually also nice. So I think that's a good trade to some extent. It's a little bit hard to come by with Martial Cadence. In that sense, you can't really trigger it that easily when you want to, but it's nice, I guess. And Berserker stands up. Stability access on Warrior, I guess. Cool, I like it. I mean, it's not stability, sorry. It's actually nice. I think it's good. Just 1 second underused trade. I think that's underused skill. It's good, I think. Yeah. And then a lot of changes to Berserker, mostly the actual, how's it called, burst skills. So Arc Divider DPS down, Slicing Maelstrom DPS down, and increased number of boons removed in PvE and PvP. Probably not changing anything. Again, Rupturing Smash power coefficients up in PvP will not change anything. Flaming Flurry, power coefficient up will also not change a lot, I would say. Blood Reckoning, you reduce the cooldown. That's actually good. That's the healing skill. 5 seconds off. That's probably a big buff, I would say. Yeah. For all game modes, actually. You used it in a lot of builds in PvE. And if you wanted to go crazy in PvP and World vs. World, you actually can use it as well. So I think that's a good buff. Dead or Alive, again, 1 second more. Probably a really good buff. So I think I see Berserker in all game modes getting buffed for the most part. Is actually really helpful, I would say. Yeah. Burst of Regression just straight now applies Fury in addition to its previous effects. That's really nice. That helps a lot of builds to just get more Fury. I think that's really good. I think overall Berserker is really happy with this. Of course, you get some damage nerf in World vs. World with Arc Divider, but it was also a very good DPS pick there. So I guess that's fair. And lastly, we get Break Enchantments, reduce the power coefficients. Yeah, World vs. World Break Enchantments is really, really good. So I think the power coefficient nerf makes sense. It will still be played. Don't worry about it. It will just be a little bit less DPS. Overall, I think Warrior, just World vs. World nerfs, other than that PvP and PvE buffs. So I think overall, Warriors can be quite happy, I would say. Yeah. Yeah, no Blade Zone buffs. Like I said, I think they have to rework a lot of stuff that is really, really underused, like Blade Zone, like Viva and stuff. And they will not rework. This patch is just very small. It's just number changes. I think the number changes for the most part are okay. I like the direction where they're going. For the most part, they will not change a lot. The meta will stay the same. But it's at least a tuning update that we get. And I think that's fair. Some overperforming stuff gets notched down. Some underperforming stuff gets a little bit buffed. So I think that's fair. But I was also really hoping for big reworks of really underused specs. Because that's, in my opinion, something that really is missing the last few patches, for sure. So overall, I think the patch is decent, but just very small in what it actually changes. That's my general gist of it. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think this is the only change where I would say the direction is actually really weird to me. Why would you buff Elementalist weapon in PvE, the hammer one? Because it's not that used in, let's say, a lot of raid builds, but it is extremely broken in solo builds. It's actually it's crazy, you know. In a Celestial Catalyst that's already insanely easy to play and very strong, you just buff it with hammer again. This is insane. My builds that I just posted, the solo builds and the one for all build for Elementalist, now get even better. Okay, I guess I take it, but I didn't see that one coming, I have to be honest, because it was really already a really good weapon. I don't know. I guess that's what they want. Yeah. Yeah. That's Ain't It. Ain't It in a nutshell. Thanks for the follow, by the way, Chillguard. Really appreciate it. So, now, let's take a look at Revenant. So, Revenant, we had here the challenge setup that I made out that core Revenant is really, really bad. Really, really bad. Yeah. And I wanted to make it work in roaming. Let's see if I can make it work, because core Revenant is just very bad. To be fair, I don't think they care much about solo PvE performance. That's true. They don't care a lot. But in my opinion, a lot of people actually play Guild Wars 2 in PvE, some kind as a solo build. They want to solo stuff and they don't want to care about getting a group all together. And it's actually crazy how much they just let actually go through and how much more power they give to solo builds. River's Relic was the best example. It's the only game mode where River's Relic is not nerfed. In PvP and World vs. World, it's still nerfed. Or it's not still, but it is already nerfed. In PvE, in, let's say, in PvE in open world, it's not nerfed. You can get the full uptime of Alacrity just by dodging. It's actually insane. Yeah, I don't know. They never think about a lot about the PvE. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so let's theory craft some core Revenant gaming. So the first decision is already do we want to play power or Condi? And the answer to that is probably if you want to make a power or if you want to make a power Revenant, what stances would you use? Probably Shiro and Dwarf stance. If you want to make a power Revenant, you would use Shiro and Dwarf. I think all the others make no sense and you don't have any other abilities here. So you would probably go with Devastation for sure, and you would probably on Invocation for sure. Probably, because you want the crit chance buff on a power build, which is absolutely insane. But you don't have that much Fury access because you're not on Glint. So where do you get your Fury? Probably from Assassin's Presence, but it's only 3 seconds of Fury every 10 seconds. So let's see if we can make it work. Okay. Then probably heal yourself, this one, Rapid Flow, just to get some more healing and swiftness. And this one we can change later, but you want to have Fury. Where do I get Fury? Now, nowhere here. So, where can I get Fury? Because if I don't get Fury, this trade is actually not working that well. Retribution doesn't give me access to Fury at all. So how can I make this build actually work? Yeah. This gives me Fury, actually. But, I mean, would you use it just for the Fury? Probably not. So, you see slowly where I'm going. A power Revenant build is actually a little bit challenging to make it work. So Staff, Sword is probably sure if you want to play a power build. That much is, in my opinion, set. And then on Staff you would run Energy and Cleansing. So I was thinking that Condi might work better, because power is probably just you play a power Revenant build and you are just a worse Herald. That's probably my take here. But I mean, I try my best. I just have to get the participation back up. I will first try a power build and then I will try a Condi build as well. But I think the power build, I have to be honest, will just be a weak Herald. That's probably the... Is there some kind of relic that gives me Fury? Yeah, Relic of the Midnight King, but I don't have that many disables. That's the sad part. Relic of Altruism, what gives it? Wow, that's so bad. So you don't have any good Fury access, so how can I get Fury on this build? It's actually, how can I get Fury? It's actually really tough. It was, let's say, it was reasonable to say that Power Revenant is actually really bad. Or Core Revenant, rather. I mean, I think Marauder is set, and what else can we use there? probably... What kind of rune would we want to use here? Probably something that gives me movement speed? No, I have swiftness, so probably... Scholar is probably fine for the most part, I guess. Yeah, the DPS is really good, of course. Yeah, I mean... Probably probably air. Maybe not. Maybe you want to play Hydromancy as a sigil on a power build because you want to get even more power out, and energy makes sense. No, maybe not energy on this one. Maybe what can you pick there? Maybe actually agility makes sense. Nah, I don't know. Kind of weapon. You don't want on a Revenant, you never want to have multiple sigils that are... So, for example, I don't want to have energy on my double sword and on my staff because I can proc the energy by swapping my legends, and then I can proc another one of those things, of those sigils, when I swap the weapon. So I can actually get multiple one. Okay, what do they want to kill me here? 2v1 with a build that I did not even fully set up yet. Yeah, I need some quickness. Returning player here. I want to get back into the game, but I really want to make a new character. I haven't really touched the game since Sota. I want to play a range class. Watched your thief video from yesterday. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to recommend one build for you because I don't know what playstyle you want. I can give you a recommendation. Give me a second. And 1 second. I have a video where I showcase every class and really want to emphasize which type of playstyle might be for you, just showcasing it. So maybe that's worth for you to just check out and watch it, even though you are a returning player and it's typically made for, let's say, new players. But maybe it can still work for you. Maybe you just want to take a look how it's played. I will also mention in the video sections about each elite spec, where it's played, how it's played typically. Talk a little bit about how the spot in the meta is, but I'm not really focusing on it. It's more about the playstyle, how it actually performs and stuff, just how it feels. So maybe that can help you. Yeah, Chronomancer with Greatsword is actually really fun when the new patch comes out. I'm not sure if it changes too much. It will probably just be a small buff, but I guess it's fine. You can also try it, yeah. Yeah, Power Mech. Is it really almost 40k after the patch? That's actually insane. I like that. I mean, that will be my first build guide that I will make when the patch comes out. Just saying, we have a new easy build, you know. Power Rival Mech. You can just again, stop using your keyboard, and the mech and your rival auto tech will do everything. It's actually crazy. I mean, it was so insane at some point back in the past that we did a raid run with, I think, 8 mechanists because people just said, oh, I don't want to play something that is too hard. It was so bad, actually. But okay, let's now think about it again. So, I don't get Fury access. That's the sad part here. So I don't know if this is actually really working. This gives Fury 5 seconds. Maybe you need some boon duration to actually make it permanent. Because if you have this trait, you want Fury permanently. If you can't get it, that's just... I think the Retribution would make sense, actually. To get a lot of resolution, get a lot of damage buffs and might. I guess that makes sense. I think that would be the power version, to be honest. No, probably with the cleansing. You don't have a lot of cleanses actually in this build. Yeah, I think that would be the power version. I'm not sure if I can make that really worthwhile to run for the most part, I have to be honest. What can we use here? Something that cleanses conditions. I need some condi cleanses. But yeah, all not that crazy good. Maybe this one, Relic of Water. But it's a 20-second cooldown. Yeah, Fabric could be interesting, but I think you have a lot of movement. So movement stuff, you know, this one removes movement conditions. So it's actually, I don't know. I don't like the options here. Maybe leadership, but if you go with this one, I don't know. I think it's really weird. Maybe just go with antitoxin, actually. Antitoxin could make sense because you have a lot of Condi cleanses. Not a lot of, but that just give you one. You know, this one gives you one. And this one gives you one. Nah, it's not worth it, probably. Don't have too many. Maybe you just have to use Mosin. Remove a non-damaging condition whenever you wait on attack, which will be very frequently. So I guess that's probably the way to go, just to make sure that you don't get a lot of conditions, because then you can cleanse the damaging ones with your real Condi cleanses. And you have actually resolution to make them also not that annoying. Which order do the Condis get cleansed? Always the last applied. No. So, but that's, I don't know. This is probably. Yes, last applied is first cleanse. Yes. The brutality could be interesting. While gain quickness when you weapon swap. While you have quickness, your strikes remove stability. That is a very interesting trait, I have to be honest. But then we have to get more quickness. This one is just a nice healing that we can get. Interesting. Very interesting. Oh, come on. Outplayed by the Harpy. That's the sad part here. I don't know. I think if you run this one here, I was just thinking about this one. If you run this one, you get actually quite a lot of resistance because you have so many movement skills. But you will lose some nice healing that you get passively. That's just, I would say, I mean, it's 250 healing. Is it really worth it? Nice. Thanks for sharing a filthy on my Discord. Really helpful. Maybe I make a build guide about it if it's really good. Yeah, I don't know. This seems very underwhelming. You get, when you use your healing skill, you get 250 more healing if you hit enemies. Actually nothing. It's crazy. I mean, with this trade, it's more. Because that double is it, but it's still only 500. I don't know. I think this one is worth it. This one is worth it. And then one of those. Maybe it's really the resistance one. But that's losing a lot of damage. I don't know. Interesting. I think the problem is that this legend setup is just feeling really weak. If you don't have Clint, you don't have a good healing skill. I don't like... I mean, this is actually okay because it gives you energy back, but do you really need more energy? Is that the problem why you die? I'm not so sure. Thanks for the follow, Mogains. Thanks. So, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think you should go Condi. Yeah, I'm trying to go for a core Revenant build, but I have to be honest, I'm already not seeing how to make a power build work. I think it's actually, it's just so much worse than Herald. You know, the healing skill of Herald is carrying you, the wounds are carrying you. I think it's just, why would you pick it? It's just, it feels so bad. Yeah, I think Condi with Spear, maybe Shortbow in the second weapon set, maybe Mace. Could be way better, I would say. Then if you go for Condi, you would probably drop Devastation for Malex or for the Corruption trade line. Yeah, you can. I mean, you can use Celestial, but Celestial doesn't give you concentration anymore. And I think on a Celestial build, you really wanted some boon duration as well. I'm not sure. I think Spear. Maybe Celestial is a good one. Yeah. I mean, it's weaker, but it's really that bad. Shiro for offense, Chalice for bruisery defense. Yeah, I mean, I think it's working. Don't get me wrong, it's working, but it's like you make it deliberately worse. So it's like a free-to-play version of your Glint. Yeah, but you can't. Is it not like I'm not 100% sure, but will you get access to Revenant if you don't have any expansion? I think it's not the case. So you have to have an expansion. So you will always have Herald when you buy an expansion, or will you not? When Heart of Thorns rather. So you can't have a core Revenant only. You have to have some elite specs, and they will always be better than the Revenant, the core Revenant. So it's a little bit I don't know. Yeah. So we have a question here. Do you know what the estimated power I will make black benchmark is going to be? I mean, Snowdrop Fox, do you know that as well? Because we know that it will 39.5 we mentioned earlier will be the power one. So if you just play a power without alacrity, and that is a really high number for a build that is almost AFK. So will be interesting. I don't know the actual number. So maybe Snowdrop knows in chat here if we have the estimation for the lag build as well. Okay, yeah, I would also guess so. It's not changing too much of the traits and stuff, so you would probably, if you can go full the same gear and just use a different trait, then you would probably use a few amount of, like maybe like 2 to 3k, something like that makes sense. But if you need to, for the upkeeping, you need more wound duration, then it will be more. That I'm not sure. Okay, let's go for a Condi build. This is not working out, I think. Too much of a difference. So I would use Spear and probably Mace and Shield. Probably, because I think you have already some kind of range weapon. Going for a second range weapon feels awkward. I have to be in. Maybe Ritualist, yeah. I was thinking about Ritualist as well. Because you're heavy armor class, you already have some base armor. Maybe Ritualist could work. But let's see what kind of... You know, it's only working if you get a lot of boons, you know, and I think Coromant has a big problem with actually getting a lot of boons. I'm not sure how many boons we will actually get, because Ritualist only makes sense if you have really high amount of boons that you can give yourself. So let's think about it. This one is definitely not worth it anymore. Maybe we still stay with an invocation and go for Song of the Mists. Maybe Spirit Boon is worth it. But this is interesting. Okay. Yeah, let's check it first. I mean, we could go Ritualist and go a lot of resistance things and get a lot of healing from that. I can check. Let me check before I notice something. So let's check the... So let's check the... Where is it? Bench, builds, engineer. Where is it? Power alacrity mechanist. That's what we're talking about. 32.5k. 32.5, so you run some diviner pieces to actually get some more boon duration. I guess that makes sense. How much boon duration do you have? 30% you need. Yeah. I guess you will run the same build, just with rival, I guess. I mean, yeah. I think that's... Yeah, I mean, they will buff the rival, so that's why it's going so much higher. This one is obviously 32.5 with the other weapons, but still, yeah. Yeah, but it will not change how much which kind of gear you use. It's just the damage output you have with those weapons. So I think it's probably still quite high because the rival gets so much of a buff. Yeah, that's what my analysis here. I've seen a lot of your videos about covering about Mesmer, but I have kind of hard time to sustain during fights. I know when you spawn clones it heals, but I don't know if I just don't spam them or why I always am low on during fights. I mean, it depends. Are you talking about PvE unlucky? Because in PvE you should also, if you are in a group, you should need some kind of healer as well most of the time. So you're not, it's not your fault if you don't, let's say, get healed all the time. Yeah, Dagger Elementalist is still very good in World vs. World Networks, don't worry. It's still a very good pick. Probably one of the best roamers right now, yeah. I don't know how much actually the rival buffs will be. So let's think about the traits again. So we could go full resistance mode and go full resistance, but then we don't have any damage, or not that much damage. We could go full aggressive mode and go full the upper road and get a lot of damage with it. Is it worth it to get full resistance if you are full on ritualist gear? And just don't care about condis and just have no condi glances with resolution? Maybe let's go full ritualist. And probably Link's Rune. Or no, something with movement speed. Just Traveler probably, Ritualist. Sounds like a decent combo. Let's try the Ritualist, tanky Ritualist version. Then we need here Geomancy. And probably Hydromancy. No, not Hydromancy here, maybe Doom here. And here we want probably Hydromancy and maybe Cleansing. No, maybe Energy is better. And here also full Ritualist, yeah, that makes sense. I guess I think that's sensible, that makes sense. And then for the Relic, that's actually interesting. For the Relic, something aggressive. What gives you condi damage or something like that? I don't know. Interesting. Yeah, nice. Congrats, Filthy. If you're that good, why not? You know, it makes sense. Maybe your build is broken, maybe you're just a very good player, maybe both. I guess that's good. I like it. I mean, it would be, to be honest, you know, if you get a rival mechanist alacrity that pumps around 31 to 32k, I think that's still a very worthwhile thing to have. It doesn't have to be that high because alacrity builds classically are performing a little bit lower than quickness builds for the most part. And it's still a fully ranged build. It's very easy to play. So, I mean, I would take it if it's 32k. Just saying, yeah. So, but if it's even higher, I mean, that would be crazy, actually. Then why wouldn't you play it? Then I would say then everyone should play it if it's higher than 32k, probably. Yeah. Yeah, I guess it will be above 30k. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I'm not a big Mechanist rival fan either, but I think if it's that good and that easy to play, I think a lot of people should just play it, because then it will just probably be the most superior option for most people. Yeah. Oh, I need some more food. Where is it? This is the one that I want. I would recommend it, actually, yeah. I think I would recommend it in CMs and Fractals, yeah. If it really reaches 30k, I would highly recommend it, actually. If you are not, let's say, a fully tryhard and you can't do CMs with, let's say, no healer or something, and you don't have a really, you know, you're not getting 40k on the silent surf or something, then sure, that's the what I would recommend, because rather play a safe build that has fully ranged and is capable of doing stuff than playing something that is really tryhard and you don't achieve the number that it's actually supposed to achieve. So I think I would really recommend it. I would probably play it myself just for that reason. Yeah, I'm always up for builds that are lower in the benchmark but higher in the actual fights. I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But let's see how high the benchmark will be. I don't know actually for sure. Because we have to see the actual numbers first. But it's, of course, you can calculate it before, but sometimes it's not correct. We saw that with the Mirage buffs. It's not always the absolute number that comes out after. Okay, so I'm not a big Dwarf enjoyer, but they are so bad, the other stances, so it makes a lot of sense to run Dwarf here. Traveler makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure about the Relic, though. Would any other build compare to it? Wouldn't it only be Power Electrono? The problem is Power Electrono is very good if you know what you're doing, but it's not a very easy build to play, I would say. Yeah, its place is way harder to play actually than people think, because you have to really press a lot of buttons. You have to adjust your utility skills to actually make them be really useful. So I think it's not comparable in that sense, because Power Electrono is way harder to play and you have to know the fight way more, and it's almost exclusively melee. And so I would say, in my opinion, it's the superior option in terms of damage, but it will be the inferior option in terms of ease of access for sure. How easy you can actually play as some kind of power chrono is way harder, especially in the CMs, as if you would play some kind of fully ranged mech build. Yeah. In Lonely Tower CM, I guess. Yeah, I would go with Snowdrop Fox. I think Alex Spectre is the better option if you want an easy build. It's better than Chronomancer, I would say. Yeah, welcome, Echo Fox. Welcome. Yeah, I don't know. Got chance of wilds, I can finally play the only working ref build. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Spear on Revenant is very, very oppressive. Very oppressive. So, Chili, I'm not completely sure if I understand your questions correctly, but if you want to deactivate how many skills you actually see from other players, you have to deactivate effect LOD. That helps a lot to limit the detail of particle effects, so that you can easier see your own skills and stuff that you want to dodge rather than all the others. So that can be helpful. And you can also decrease the character model limit. Yeah. But in terms of having a boon DPS build for your entire fractal run, including CMs, I'd say Power Alacrity Mechanist and Power Alacrity Chrono are only options mainly. I mean, you could, of course, always go for swapping, but if you say you want to stay on the same build, then probably. Yeah, I can show you the settings again, sure. Probably if you want to run a power... No, I mean... Yeah, I mean, I think the best Alacrity option is probably Renegade, if you can play it very well in Fractals, just because you can play a Condi one and then the swap to power version after that, and it's probably the best one in terms of damage. But I would say if you don't want to swap, then I would probably stick with something that is ranged for the most part, and then you are probably only stuck with Power Alacrity Mech and Power Chrono. That's correct, I would say, yeah. I mean, it's you will always, you know, you have to make some sacrifices if you say I don't swap around, because that's how it's designed. You don't want to have builds that are perfectly capable of doing everything at the best level, because then people or ArenaNet will nerf it down. So that's how they design it. So that's always the case, yeah. I heard Heal Firebrand sucks in 100 CM because of people splitting a lot. Yeah, I mean, that's in 100 CM and 99 CM actually the case. So typically you want to have a Chronomancer, for example, that can actually provide a lot of boon extension. That helps a lot. I'm not sure if you in 100, it's actually not that bad if you have a really fast group, I would say, because you don't split too much. You can ignore a lot of the mechanics, actually. Maybe we run Salvation, I'm not sure. Maybe you can also run Salvation here. I think that's actually okay, this build, to be honest. I think it's actually okay. What's power lag, mech, rival, next packs, weakness, and fractal? The utility it can provide is not that crazy, so you can't provide a lot of stability. For example, I would say the CC is also, I mean, the CC is actually okay. I personally don't like having a mech. I'm not a mechanist enjoyer because you have to take care of the pet, and the pet is just stupid. Sometimes it runs away and stuff. That's what I don't like it. And that's true, the burst is very low, or comparatively low, which is always a bad thing in fractals, because fractals are very burst reliant. So if you can't get enough burst down, then typically the boss is down and your DPS overall is shit. So yeah, I don't know. Is Power Virtuoso build dead or playable? Right now, it's perfect. It's extremely strong. After the patch in PvE, it will be a little bit worse, but it's still perfectly playable. So don't worry about it. So it will be very, very good. Still, yeah. Have you come across the bug with either Nexus or Blizzard that stops you from leaving PvP games? Is it really from Nexus and PvP? I did not know that this is the bug. I think it's also in the base game, to be honest. At least it's as far as I know. I encountered it as well, that I just couldn't leave if you quit quite early of the game. Then you just go back in. But I did not get stuck there, so I don't know. Maybe it's a different bug. Yes, Echo Fox, I actually just made a long discussion about it and previously on stream. But I will upload a video later today if I can make it work about this, and we'll debate it. Yeah. They nerfed Power Virtuoso, and Echo Fox is trying to get into Power Virtuoso. That's the thing here. But it will not get, you know, the thing is, it will not be so bad that you can't play it. It will just get a little bit less DPS than it has right now, which is totally fine. Yeah, welcome, Cow, welcome. I think it's totally fair to nerf builds that are really strong in the utility, which is Power Virtuoso, so to make it less damage. Yeah. Yeah, Spectral Grasp is probably the bigger change here. I think Spectral Grasp change is actually insane. I think the Spectral Grasp change is supposed to nerf it in World vs. World, but it's actually also nerfing it in PvE, which is actually crazy because the PvE nerf is actually quite big, I have to be honest. Yeah. I mean, Power Word is at 42k or 43k, I think, right now. And it will go down to probably 41 or something like that, maybe 40 if it's really bad, but that's still worth it, yeah. I think that's fine, yeah. Yes, I can link the patch notes. There we have them. Oh, Snowdrop was faster. Okay, very good. Yeah, so I'm not sure. So I think it's okay to nerf builds that are really strong in terms of utility, and I think Power Virtuoso is one of those builds, so I think it's good that if you have lower DPS there. I don't know. Thanks, Raven and Davise, for the follow. Really appreciate it. Yeah, quick DPS data is of course really annoying to have such a high number, but Untamed will also get nerfed. Don't worry, Echo Fox. Untamed will get nerfed. Spear Untamed will get way lower. Or, yeah. So it will still be playable, but it will get less number. Quick DPS data is high, but the thing is, it's very... Not a lot of people actually can pull that off for the most part, because it's not that... It's very selfish. It just provides quickness and a few other boons. It's not really utility focused. I think it's okay to have a build like that, but I agree 42 is way too much. It should not... At DPS, offensive support should never have that high numbers, in my opinion. That's not how you should play the game. You should have to sacrifice something for it. I agree with you there, yeah. But what can you do? What can you do, you know? It's their game, and if they don't nerf stuff, then we have to play it, because it's very good. if you want to play the most optimal one, that is. Yeah. Is it getting nerfed? I'm not sure. What is it actually playing? Let's check. Thief. Power quickness data. I think Spear gets a little bit nerfed, but it's more on the Condi side, I have to be honest. I think Dagger actually gets, if you use, do you use Backstab? I think actually this one gets nerfed. Falling Spider gets nerfed. I think it gets a little bit nerfed. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much the DPS number will be. We have to wait until they put it out. After the patch, it's at 15th of April, so it's not yet out yet. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's fine. I mean, that's what they should try to do actually in the Vox, to remove alacrity and quickness from the game. But nowadays it's too late. PvE is too power grabbed to actually make that work, because then no one would be able to kill all the bosses anymore if you remove that. I thought about branching out to Quickness Harbinger, so I can not only apply alacrity but a rotation. That seems scuffed. Always use the Quickness potion before a fight. Lots of last button flashing. I mean, Quickness Harbinger is way harder than Scourge. That much is for sure. Just because it's way more tight on the rotation. There is not a lot of boons that you can let's say, cap on. So it's very, you have to use it correctly in the rotation. You have to stick to the boss, and you also, it's way harder to play, and it's not that universally applicable, I would say, just because of that. Yeah. Do it looks like they want the pure DPS builds to be between 40 and 45k. Yeah, that's what it looks like. And I think that's a fair spot, I would say. I think they should make more considerations about range and not only about, let's say, how much utility they have, because I think range builds in general should have less DPS than a melee build. So for example, a power Willbender should have more DPS than a power Mechanist, in my opinion. Just saying. But yeah. Yeah, I think the balance patch is very small and not completely. I'm not completely on board with all of the changes. I have to agree there. Yeah. I don't want to play without quickness. I'm with Snowdrop there, but I think in general the game should have been designed in a way that there is no quickness and alacrity in the first place. It makes the game, or at least not permanently, that makes the game way less easy to balance, and it looks really, it's really weird for new players to come in. I don't know. I think it's not how it should be played. Yeah. Yes, that's true. Scourge is, you are starting with a build that is extremely easy, and you want to get to branch out to other builds. You will probably only encounter builds that are more difficult to play. that's the honest answer here. So, but I would say Quickness Harbinger is one of the more difficult ones. So there are easier builds than Quickness Harbinger for sure. Yeah. How good are the ref changes? I still don't think anyone will play Renegade in PvP. That's true. I think Renegade will not be played in PvP, but I think Revenant is one of the classes that only got boss. So Revenant in general is happy. Revenant is happy in that sense, but it will not make or break how you play Renegade and Revenant in general. So I think it's still decent in what it wants to do, but it's not changing, and it will not be meta because of the changes. So yeah, that's the short answer here. I think some skills are, for example, if you look at Catalyst with Hammer, or just Hammer in general on Elementalist, it feels so slow. It's unplayable to me if I don't have quickness. If I have quickness, Hammer feels okay. But if I don't have quickness, Hammer is just so slow, it's annoying as fuck. It's actually insane. It's really bad. So, in my opinion, quickness has a place for very slow weapons. That should be actually working. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, 40k is still a very high number in my opinion for quickness Deadeye, but it's I guess, better than having 42k, which is absolutely insane as a quickness DPS. Yeah. Yeah, Guardian Hammer is also very, very slow. I mean, the auto take is slow because of the symbol on the last hit, so that makes sense, but still, I don't like slow weapons. I always like to have fast-paced gameplay, and I don't want to have quickness, especially in competitive modes where you don't have a lot of quickness access. I think slow weapons are always less fun than fast-paced weapons. I don't know. I'm just not a biggest fan of that design. I want to have fast-paced casts and not very slow attacks that you probably don't use if you don't have quickness. It's just not my design. I had a Scourge in Wing 5 pack yesterday who did 33.5k DPS in SH. That's insane to me. Who only got 23k. I mean, SH is, first of all, extremely Scourge favored. It's a very good fight for Scourge because you can use Epidemic there. You just can deal a lot of damage. You don't have any phases. It's amazing. So that's why it's such a good one. And I mean, of course, like Snodder points out, it's just a good player probably, and you just have to get more experience, and you will get there in the end as well. So I guess that's what you should look to do actually. Yes, I mean, Cow is completely right here. That they will never remove major boons anymore in the game. It's not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. They will not remove major boons, because people will just be so annoyed that they will probably not play the game anymore, and that's not what they want. And ArenaNet wants to have players playing the game, so they will just stick what they have and try to balance it around that, but they will not remove quickness or alacrity from PvE at all. That's not gonna happen. Maybe in a new game they will do it. In Guild Wars 3 they will not introduce it at all. Maybe. But let's just stick with Guild Wars 2. It's not gonna happen. Don't worry about it. I think, I don't know, I like the design that you have some supporters that give quickness and alacrity, and you have healers, so that's not the same thing all the time. I like that, but I think the idea that you have to have it permanently in PvE is not something that I perfectly find good. I think it would be way better if you had, for example, like on KC, Keep Construct in Wing 3, you have the burst phase where you get this huge damage multiplier, where you should say, okay, now we apply quickness because now we want to burst the boss. That would be really cool, but that's not how it is. You have quickness permanently, and then you don't care about it. You know, it's just, if it's not there, you care. But if you have it, it's, yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I don't understand why we have so many balance patches anyway. Yes, Spear is a new weapon, but it can't be that hard to give every DPS 44k bench and boon DPS like 30 to 35. Yes, it will be hard, but the game is out for a decade. The thing here is, I would say yes, that should be the case, that they make it when it comes out to actually make it somewhat decent already, and then don't have all those balance patches all the time. But the thing is, the balance patches are also some type of content. And it's quite easy content. For hardcore players, they want to get new builds going then and try them and optimize them and stuff. So it's a form of content without releasing any new content, making old content still valid. So I think that's why they try to push it out rather frequently, the changes and stuff. And they also want to make different classes played at times. So not that you not always play the same class just because it provides the most utility. I think that would make sense in my opinion. I think you could argue for both sides for sure. What build should I play as a Revenant for pure DPS, and would it be compared to other top DPS specs? You could, I mean, it depends. Condi Renegade is really strong. Condi Renegade is one of the best Condi DPS to play. It's very good, but it doesn't have the highest burst damage. So that's a good one. And you can also play, what can you play as Revenant as well? You can play Power Vindicator, which is probably the best power option you have. It's very selfish, doesn't have a lot of utility, but it does quite a decent amount of damage and it will get buffed. Yeah, I think weapon reworks is definitely something I would also go for. I think a lot of weapons are underused. Elementalist Pistol, maybe Greatsword from Warrior. Those weapons, they should get a rework. I think some of them are really, really lackluster. Yeah, I'm with you there. I hope not. I really hope not. I think Guild Wars 3 should be way more thought out what they really want to get and what should be in there. I don't know. Not too overperforming boons and stuff would be way more likely in my opinion. I hope at least. In equipment templates, can I add same weapon to two different templates? If I have it in inventory, will it swap equipment automatically? Yes, it will. But you can't, for example, in a standard weapon that has a different stat set, you can only use it once, obviously. So you can't swap the same weapon to Berserker or Celestial if you don't have a legendary gear. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I say. If you're a veteran, then you like balance patches for the most part because you want to get more content, new stuff to try out. But if you're, let's say, a new player, you don't like balance patches because you just get accustomed to one class and then you have to swap again, or you have to swap some traits or some rotation and stuff. So I get that's annoying, but I like to have balance patches that just change the numbers. So I would say that you have in PvE, I'm talking about PvE, so that you have, let's say, for 3 months, you have, let's say, Spear Untamed being top DPS. And then the next one will be maybe Spear Virtuoso, yeah? And Untamed is still playable, you can use the same gear, you will have just 3-4k less DPS, and the Virtuoso will have higher DPS. So that would be, for me, the ideal case, that you swap around the highest performing DPS without having to nerf the other one so bad that you can't use it anymore. Yeah, that would be... I think, to be honest, I am with Snotchop. I think having more balance patches would provide more content for me than having those small content patches that give me a new map that I'm done with in 1 hour. Balance patches give me way more builds, way more things to theory craft, to play the game, old content, whatever, PvP, world versus world. There's so much more to do with balance patches for me as a veteran than if I get more content. More content is a little bit funny. It's not that much more content, but yeah. I've seen a guy who plays for 60 days and only plays Guardian specs. He tried DH and he reached 41k bench within a few tries. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean that you are bad. It's just someone just understanding the class very well. That's okay. I mean, maybe you should try Guardian as well and you would perform very well on it. I don't know. Just don't worry about it too much. Don't compare yourself to others. Try to get your own thing going and have fun with it. Yeah. Yeah. I would be with you, Romix, but I like to have a shifting meta quite frequently to just have something that is actually somewhat fun to play, something new. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really important that you play a class that you actually like, because then you will probably get way more efficient at learning it than if you play a class just because you started with it and you noticed some other class might be better for you. I think that's important. Yeah, I think it's actually true. I think a lot of the balance changes that they nowadays do are just, we want to make some changes. We are not really thinking about why we do those changes in the long run. It's more like, yeah, I mean, Ranger didn't have a change yet, so let's put a Ranger's change there. So I don't like this idea. I think a balance patch should always be like, okay, every single change that you do has some kind of long-term or really important idea why you would actually use it. And it doesn't feel like with the latest patches actually that they have this kind of idea anymore. I don't know. I just... maybe they're working on something else. Maybe they are just... Maybe we expect too much here. I don't know. But in any case, I'm not too happy about it. Yeah. Is the balance from the game based on high-performing players like in other games? If that's the case, then patches don't have such a big impact from a casual player, I would think. That's the interesting part. In Guild Wars 2, they actually do both. They nerf really high-performing, high-end builds that no one except Snowcrow's members play. They actually nerf those builds. And they also nerf builds like, for example, I don't know, DH in PvP, Trapper DH, yeah, where people are just absolutely farmed by it because they don't know how to deal with the traps. So they do both, and that makes it very difficult actually for a new player to understand which kind of change is actually affecting them and which kind of change is completely irrelevant. So that's what I aim to do with my videos about those balance changes, to make a video where I say, okay, we have those changes and they will change this and that. And for you, that doesn't affect anything. I think that's, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Flavor of the month, yeah. That's exactly what I want, but I'm not sure if it's really, if they really are on board with that. Yeah, that's the thing here. Yeah. Although I'm quite fine with the patches lately, since they don't X builds they did like did years ago, but rather do smaller reductions. Yeah, that's I agree with you. I think the general direction from a lot of changes is okay, but oftentimes I feel like the change number is so little that it's probably not affecting anything. So I think, okay, why not go for the full way and say, okay, let's nerf it a bit more to actually have an impact on the build or on the DPS. I don't know. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was this was the solar times where we had, for example, we had the God Emperor with Mechanist and stuff, and then we had some nerfs to it. And then, for example, look at how broken Scorch was on Firebrand in PvP, and they got so much nerf that you now can't play it anymore. So that's true. Some of the big changes in the past were really annoying to do, but to play as a player, because it completely changed what class you had to play, because it's not even playable anymore. But I think somewhere there should be a middle ground. You don't have to make changes that don't do anything, and you don't have to make changes to completely destroy a class. I think you can find a middle ground there without really hurting too many people too much. I don't know. I don't know. Is it that bad with the stability? I mean, thieves are not supposed to have stability, in my opinion, because they are assassins, you know. You don't want to have an assassin that does immense amount of damage and has stealth access and is mobile and has stability. I think that's just not supposed to have. You have Spectre and it has stability, so play Spectre if you want stability. I mean, it makes sense in my opinion. Heal Boon, what's the best for all CMs and T4s? Yes, it's heal Alacrity or heal Quickness Chrono, or Firebrand if you're really knowing what you're doing. But Chrono is, in my opinion, the superior option if you're somewhat new to CMs. Yeah. If you're to play Heal Boon Chronomancer, is Quickness the more common option for people to use? I would say Alacrity is the more common option, because Quickness builds, a lot of Quickness builds are actually power favored. So you can play Quickness Catalyst, you can play Quickness Chrono. I don't know. It depends what typically would queue up as in the LFG. I would say I'm Boon Heal, and then depends what joins, and then I swap, because I just want to have the thing faster. But if you want to min-max, it depends a bit. For Condi, Alacrity is really nice. For power, I would say Quickness is a little bit better, but it depends who you ask. It's really hard to say. Yeah. Yeah. Quickness Herald is good. There are a lot of options, actually. Quickness has a lot of good builds, I would say. Is there a profession build that can give 100% stability uptime? I think if you... Maybe Chronomancer can do it. Maybe Chronomancer. If you really min-max the build around it, maybe it's possible. But I'm not 100% sure, actually. It's also not very healthy, to be honest. They should actually make it less possible, because that's absolutely insane if you can have 100% stability uptime. It's just not how it should be. Yes, definitely. They have some favorites. That much is for sure. They don't nerf equally. That's definitely true. I think you saw that with Elementalist and Guardian. Guardian is always way more likely to get broken than Elementalist for the most part. That's just the feeling, yeah. Oh, that's actually true. We will get the new CM on Tuesday. That will be interesting. What will happen there? Let's see. But the balance changes will happen after that, so it will not affect the world's first race. That's good. Yeah, Warrior is in a weird spot. I think Warrior in all game modes is actually in a weird spot. It's probably the best in World versus World Warrior, which is really interesting because Warrior is not a spec that typically it was quite well in doing in the last few years, months, but not the last, since Chancellor Wilds, Warrior was actually not that crazy in PvE for the most part. It just lacks a lot of flexibility, I would say. That's the biggest problem. Yeah. I really fear when I get a quickness berserker in my group in strike missions and stuff, because oftentimes they are not giving enough quickness just because of their spec and they don't even know about it. That's the sad part. I think quickness berserker gets buffs with the next patch, that's good, but I'm not sure if it really changes a lot of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, the spear is also obviously not really helping PvE warriors in that sense. It's a good weapon, but it's not broken like the other spears. That's true. Heal Alacrity Renegade? Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting build for sure. I'm not sure if it's really a broken build, but I would say Renegade and Fractalist is actually doing well, even if you're playing the heal variant, just because of the utility you can provide there. But I would rather play Chrono. Chrono is probably the superior option there. No, please don't. I mean, don't play Heal Elect Scourge. Heal Elect Scourge is only good for 99 and maybe 100 CM and maybe 98, but in 97 and 96, Heal Elect Scourge is really bad because you need stability. So don't use that in Fractals. Really go for some kind of healer that can provide a lot of stability. So Chronomancer and Firebrand are the best option. I'm not a big fan of it in Fractals. I think it leads to groups dying because of stability issues, and that's not what you want. Or you can't skip mechanics because of stability missing. So it's not something I would recommend. Yeah. Yeah, sadly, I would say Chronomancer and Heal Firebrand are probably the best option. You can also play Heal Quickness Catalyst, in my opinion. It's really underrated. It's actually insane. The only reason why I wouldn't recommend it for CMs and stuff is often because you don't have enough. Yeah, you don't have enough cleanses with a lot of easy access. So in some fractals, if you don't have, for example, if you have a lot of conditions applied to you, then this can be a little bit annoying. But other than that, it's actually a really good thing. I mean, Power Quickness Catalyst is really good in Fractals because it has a high burst damage, it has a nice boon access, and it's just a very, very good pick there. So Quickness Catalyst is really good, I would say. Thanks for the follow, Endo Mamu. Really appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, Chronomancer is really broken right now in PvE. That's just the truth. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. 99 with Afflicted is insane. You can't cleanse that as a healing catalyst. That's not gonna work. Yeah. Yes, exactly. If you play Power Alacrity Mechanist with Rival after the patch, then you would just play probably a healing Quickness Chronomancer with it and you will be completely fine. That's true. I mean, that's a good combo for sure. You can also play a Heal Firebrand. Will be the same thing, but you have to know that a Heal Firebrand has to perform better in the skill level than a Chronomancer, because a Firebrand is only working if you reach a certain threshold of knowledge about how to perform on it. If you are below this threshold, you are not helping your group at all. And on Chronomancer, you don't have that threshold. You just can spam your F skills and your rival skills and you will be fine. On Heal Firebrand, if you spam your F skills, it might be that your party doesn't get any boons because you're not positioning correctly and that kind of stuff. So, just saying. Yes, stability access on Chrono is actually really good. So, I want always, in Fractals, always want to have a support that gives me stability. If it's not the healer, then the offensive support should give me quick access to stability. If you don't get stability as a DPS in Fractals, I feel like the group is lacking an integral part of why you make Fractals so easy nowadays. Yeah. Heal Chrono is the best option since you can swap from elect to quickness with one trade, play heal Firebrand if you actually couldn't know what to do. Yeah, I think what I like about Chrono is also you can have boon extension, you can have a lot of utility, you can, if you don't need stability, you can get a lot of cleanses, a lot of reflects, healing. You can swap a lot of stuff around. You're very flexible. You can be a CC machine. I think you have way more CC than a Firebrand if you really need to, just because you can, all your utility skills and elite skill can be used as CC, and if you use it with Continuum Shift, you have double the amount. That's absolutely insane if you really need that much. So it's really, I think it's very flexible. That's why I really like to play Chronomancer. The biggest weakness of Chronomancer is that you can't pre-stack properly. So you can't get 30 seconds of quickness or alacrity before the fight because you need a target for that. That's the only really big weakness of Chronomancer, I would say. You can pre-stack all other boons to some extent, but quickness and alacrity is a little bit lackluster. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to play Firebrand. If you are fine with Chrono, I think Chrono is probably the better option, because Firebrand you have to learn first. And if you can't learn it, or if you can't perform well on it, then Chrono might be always the better option. It's just the truth. You should not go for build that is harder to play if you can't perform on it. You should probably go for the easier one in that sense. And I think Chronomancer is not also only easier to get into, but it also has a very high level of mastery. So if you want to master Chronomancer, it's a very good pick as well, because it starts easy, but you can make it work in really hard content too, because you can master it very effectively. Yeah, I mean, in T4 Fractals, it's okay to play Heal Scourge, but I think Firebrand is just better. Heal Scourge doesn't have that much stability, and I don't like that. Even in T4 Fractals. So let's see how we perform against the Warrior here. I mean, they're half-life already, and they're probably dead here. Nice. Yeah, I agree that Scourge is quite easy, but probably I would say it's not. I don't know. It's not the best option for Fractals. You might argue that CC application for Pax is harder since you need to Continuum Shift for Dark AI. Meanwhile, Firebrand just presses Sanctuary. That's true. Like I said, I think if you want to min-max Chrono, it becomes almost as hard as, or probably same difficulty as Heal Firebrand, but I think it's definitely easier to get into. That's my take here. And in most Fractals, if you know what to do in CMs and stuff, I would say Chronomancer is not hard to learn. I think if you enjoy Chronomancer, you should probably also learn how to use Continuum Shift, and then it's not a big deal actually to double CC for Dark AI, in my opinion. Really, there's an alacrity missing. I mean, that's why I play Chronomancer, because I don't care. I can swap to quickness or alacrity whenever I want. That's the good thing. Yeah. If you're playing power quick scrapper with throw mines and not grenades, can do this well. Yeah, of course, very well actually. It's a very good build. It's of course not performing as strong as a full meta build if you drop the grenade kit, but it's actually very decent as well. Yeah. I mean, in Fractals typically you can melee a lot, and if you're not going for CMs. In T4s, it's very easy, so you should not need Mortar Kit. So let's see the full Warrior 101. First 101 here, let's go. That's a lot of torment damage. Core Revenant for the win. Easy 101. Oh, come on. I mean, quickness. I mean, I won the 101. Hello. I was just ganked by 2 other people. So. from the other server. So I was fine. Core Revenant is actually doing well in a 101. And if it's a fair 1v2, maybe I'm doing there quite decent as well. Just saying. Yeah. Yeah, I think Scourge is very good in strikes and so on, because you have a lot of, you know, cleanses, barrier access, and that helps a lot. But if you're playing Fractalist, sometimes you need stability, sometimes you need other stuff. So let's go for the second round of our matchup here. So have to concentrate here. I want to easy first kill. Core Revenant, that's it. Easy. You know, that's it. Core Revenant. That's going in the montage. Just saying, Core Revenant, that's the new spec. I misjudged. I misjudged. Core Revenant, easy S tier Roma. Joking. It's just, if you have nice line of sight, you can easily kill them. That would annoy me very much, I have to say, if I lost against the Core Revenant. Gotcha. Easy. Sorry that I couldn't read chat, just wanted to win this 1-on-1 to prove that that's the build. That's the build for roaming. Yeah, I mean, Scrapper is very good in CMs if you can play it. Yeah. Let me catch up on chat. So I think Condi Herald is a very decent pick because it's a very nice and very, let's say, safe pick for quickness application. But the sad part is you are Condi build, and if you play with short bow, you have some range, yes, but your ramp up time is quite slow, and you need to be melee anyway because your swap is one of the biggest damage sources, so short bow is not really providing a lot in that regard as time of range. But your spear is just overperforming. So typically you don't run some kind of worse weapon if you have the same amount of utility with spear. So that's the sad truth here. Yeah, I'm with Snowdrop there for sure. I would say the only time where you really need to go out of melee is in 99 CM and 98 CM. All the other challenge modes and fractals, you can stay for the most part in melee, and then therefore you don't need any range. It's just, you can, if you have a decent DPS in your group and you have a decent healer, you can ignore all the mechanics for the most part, especially in Tier 4s. In Tier 4s, if I play DPS with a decent support, you can completely ignore all the mechanics and just melee everything. It's actually insane. Why is it so laggy? Is it laggy? I mean, for me it's not laggy. Yeah, if you play Quickness Herald and you want to play in an open world, yes, of course, shotbow is valid there. But if you play it in some kind of tryhard, strike and raid and fractal run, I would say spear is the better option. That much is for sure. Yeah. Just because spear, look at the spear skills. You have nice damage, you have nice conditions, you have evades, you have a CC, you have even more damage. So why would you play shortbow that just provides the same amount of range or somewhat close to it, a little bit more, but less damage? Why would you pick it? Probably for no reason. Yeah. I'm currently on Frost Citadel Alpine Borderlands. And I tried to make Core Revenant work. Yeah, I mean that's there is always the problem is if you have two weapons like spear and shortbow that are very similar in actually what they want to do. They are ranged, somewhat condy weapons. There will be one that is better than the other one. That's just the case, you know. How ArenaNet designs weapons, if they fill the same niche, you probably will have one that is a little bit better, and then you will always run that one. There is no reason to swap to the inferior one, other than if you enjoy it. Just saying that that's just a problem of how you design weapons. That's why I really like to have weapons that are more flexible. So they have a little bit CC, a little bit of condi, and then the other one has a little bit less CC, but a little bit more power damage or something, then you can make a decision. But if they are exactly the same amount of CC, same amount of utility, then you should go for the one with more damage. That's just how it goes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's a preview of the next balance patch, but it's very likely that we will get, let's say, 90% of the changes. So even if we get feedback, we will probably not change a lot. So it will not be completely revoked. That's very unlikely. So just that you, let's say, are not expecting too much. Yeah. Yeah, some stuff might change, that's true, but it's not most likely to be the crazy amount of changes that we would like to have, maybe. Yeah, so just saying that it doesn't have to be like absolutely crazy changes. Sometimes they do some crazy changes or completely revamps that they announced. Sometimes they don't. That's just how it goes. And I think this changes, for the most part, just number changes, so they will probably not adjust too much to it, I have to be honest. Just because number changes, they already decided they want to nerf it. If the whole community cries about a number change, they will probably not change their opinion on that. That's how they nerf and stuff. Yeah, maybe, but there are always people, you know, you have to think about it. If you nerf something, then always the people that play this all the time are the ones that cry about it. So yes, you see a lot of people crying about the stability nerf for Thieves, but at the same time, there will be probably 95% of the community that will not care about it. So do they really listen to the people that are actually playing the class, or do they listen to people or know to their own, let's say, knowledge or expertise? I don't know. Yeah. It's actually crazy how much damage I do. I did not expect it, to be honest, to have so much damage. It's not the most exciting one-on-one, I have to be honest. But I guess now he's dead. I'm actually surprised how tanky I am, I have to be honest. That was a very well-timed boost charge, I have to be honest. That was a close 1-on-1, but it was fun. Core Revenant is actually playable. I misjudged. I misjudged. Yeah, I never play 100 CM for that reason. I think 100 CM is very bad. I don't like it. I think it's bad from a design perspective. It's not that fun, and it's very annoying to pack. So I never do it for that reason, even though I cleared it. You know, it's not. Just saying, that's why a lot of people in the LFG actually don't go for it, because it has multiple reasons, and I hope the next fractal will get better. That much is for sure. Yeah, I mean, if you don't like the normal mode, then you should not go for the CM. The CM is only more pain. That's the answer here. It's just it's the sad truth here. Yeah. Thanks for the follow, Korean Spaghetti, Lupertinson, and Cam Anakin. Really appreciate all the subs, follows rather. Sorry, really appreciate it. Hey chat, I just started as a ranger, and so far I didn't like it, so I was thinking that I should use my boost on either Reaper or Willbender. Any advice? So the thing is, you can play all the classes with the boost. So if you go and use your boost, so I have it actually here. If you double click your boost, you get teleported in a preview area in the Silver Vase where you can actually try the class. So you can try out, for example, a level 80 Necromancer or a level 80 Willbender. So you can just try it out for yourself before you actually boost it. So that helps a lot. I wouldn't boost the first character though. So if you are playing already a ranger and you already have it to 80, then you can boost your second. I think that makes sense. But other than that, I would say just try them out there. But I would also say you can just watch, for example, my video where I showcase every single class, and you can just look at the class fantasy that you enjoy the most, because that's the most important thing, in my opinion. I can send you the link. Give me a second. Because I have let's say, a really worthwhile watch guide, let's say, where this one is it, where I showcase every single class, every single lead spec, and talk about it, how it works. And that might help you to decide which kind of stuff you want to play. Because I think it's more important to choose a class that you actually enjoy the fantasy of, the playstyle of, than going for something that you, let's say, think is currently the best one to pick. Because that's not what will stay like that the whole time, probably, forever. And it's also not making you enjoy the class more for the most part. Just saying, yeah. Exactly. I think it's very important that you watch content creators or ask around what kind of classes you might like, because if you boost it and you don't like it after that, that's too bad. You can't get your boost back and you have to level your character normally or differently at least. So yeah, I think it's really important that I always mention that never boost your first character. I think boosting your first character is something that will make you very likely to quit the game, because you don't learn the classes in a slow-paced environment, and you get to the level 80 thing and you might not understand the class, you might not like it, and it's too late. And then you made the wrong decision already. So I think it's really important that you start out slow and try different classes at the early levels, because there you can still swap. So I think it's really important. Yeah, I think the new update is probably not too crazy. Yeah, it's just I don't like it too much. I agree. Yeah, I don't know. I think the balance patch is very small, and the last map that we got with the latest patch, how was it called, Repentance or something? Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's too crazy good. Yeah, it's very underwhelming. I would say so too. I think it's, for me, I think it would be okay if we got that every 3 months, let's say 3 months, we got a new map of this size. I think that would be okay. But the problem is we got it after 6 months. So we got Schanze and 6 months later we got this small map. So it's just, we waited for 6 months to actually get that. I think the raid and the convergence took so much effort of them that we now lose out in their open world content, which is always a strength of Guild Wars 2. So that feels not very good, I have to be honest. Thanks for the follow, Akron. So I'm not the best, yeah. I think it's actually true. It's actually true. One of the best things in the Wizards or in the new patch is that you now can have the slider here. That's actually so true. This is really, really good. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, would be funny if they delay the next update for 2 months and if it's just like a hub. I think the next. I really hope that the next one is not just a hub. That would be insane, to be honest. If it's just, they said we get a new map, and if it's really just, you know, where I can show you, if it's really just the small map that we got right or to the east of Mistborn Barrens, that would be insane. That would be absolutely insane. If it's like a hub, if it's like a hub here, that would be, if it's just a city, that would be amazing. We would be so, the community would be so sad about it. It's actually insane. Yeah. I think the delay is okay. I don't mind the delay either. I would say the delay is actually something that I would say is good if the content then is polished and is actually in a decent size. Yeah, I think that's I would be okay with that. Yeah. It's actually so cool to go back to Guild Wars 1 experienced. Yeah, I mean, that's actually really nice. It's a reason why I would maybe try Guild Wars 1, because I've never played Guild Wars 1 before. But I'm not sure. I'm just currently very busy with a lot of Guild Wars 2 content stuff, so more content creation rather. So maybe I don't have the time for that. Let's see. Well, I for one would like a teleport scroll to the new maps. Yeah, I think they should actually add a teleport scroll. I think that's one of the biggest things I miss is a teleport scroll. Like either something like Arborstone, or even better, something like the Portal Tome, that I can go. So I want to Mistborn Barrens. I want to go to Lowland Shore. That's really missing, you know. If you are teleporting from here to, let's say, Ore, you have to pay 5 silver. And if you go even further down, in let's say, for whatever reason you want to go to the Domain of Connor, 8 silver. And if you want to go to Kansa, which is absolutely insane, you need so much money. It's actually crazy. It needs 12 silver to go there. So I think a Portal Tome would save so much money for a lot of people that want to travel around. I don't know. They should actually add it, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you actually have some kind of portal scroll. So how you can do it is a little bit annoying, but you can do it. If you go to Arborstone, for example, then use your summon the portal thingy, go to a home instance or homestead, and then you go to, hello, there we go. And then you go to the portal here. And then you are quite fast, actually, and can go to Lowland Shore and have at least access to Lowland Shore. Yeah. So that will work, but still, it's annoying, yeah. Efficient gold farm to be able to pay your teleports to Chantervals. Yeah, I mean, that would be a good video. How to save the most money to get to Lowland Shore and Chantervals. Would be a fun video for sure. Yeah. They might add it next patch, but I was already expecting that we got it this patch, so I'm not sure if it will be really the case. Yeah. So we were talking previously about the Chronomancer. So if you want to go for full Chronomancer, setup with full stability, I would say this might be the best setup. Maybe map. I don't know. You could also go with Mimic. But the thing is, you have a lot of stability. Whenever you shatter, you get a lot of stability because of this trait. So this one gives 10 seconds of stability. As soon as this runs out, I can use this one. And then I can use my mantra here to get more stability. And then I can recharge this one, and I can use the recharge of that one. So I think Chronomancer is really close to being able to upkeep 100% stability. Especially if you use, for example, Signal of Illusions as well and have permanent alacrity. I think there are so many options actually to upkeep perma stability. It's very close to it at least. I think at least. Yeah. It's actually crazy how much stability you can access. Yeah. It's true. Snowdrop, very nice point out here. It's also crazy. It's almost as criminal that as we don't have a portal scroll, that we don't have a map here. Why do we not have a map here? I can't join. Where do I go? New map. It's actually crazy. Did I do raids in the title? I did not do raids in the title, did I? Should not be the case, actually. I actually thought I don't have it in the title. It did not update. Sorry, did not update. That was supposed to be the title. Sorry for the confusion here. It was the last title. We did Explaining Raidwing 2. That was the last one. Sorry, I thought I was already updating it because I had it already written, but it was not updated. So that was the last one. Yeah, if you use your Continuum Shift, of course, with full clones, you can use all your shatters, you can use all your mantra charges at least once, you can use your stuff, and then if, for example, if you also use your Signal of Illusions in the Continuum Shift, you get even more. So it's actually insane. So I think you can upkeep 100% stability on Chronomancer if the fight is ongoing and you don't have any phases. Yeah. I will link the video. I explained it for 1 hour straight last week on Wednesday, and we actually performed really well on it. I was really surprised. It was a little bit chaotic, Sloth and Matthias, I have to say, but we were really fast. So yeah, I can link you the VOD. So I have a VOD about it, and you can just watch it where I explain it. So it's exactly what you would expect. It's my stream for raiding, and I explained it. So just check it out if you really want to get the explanation. And next time, maybe you just join the raid training itself, yeah? What is my new schedule? What is my new schedule? Because I normally stream on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. So that's what I do. It just wasn't there last week. No. It was just last week I was very busy. That's the problem. But this week should be better, or the next upcoming weeks should be better. Sometimes, you know, sometimes real life comes and makes a, let's say, comes with some kind of issue and you have to fix it first. That's the sad part, yeah. Yeah, it was just not permanent. Don't worry about it. It's just, sometimes, you know, I want to have a schedule and really want to stick to it, but sometimes something else comes up and I have to attend it. It's just, you know, I'm just not a full-time content creator to say, okay, that's my job. I have to be here. It's just sadly not the case yet. So, yeah. An apology video is expected. Ooh, then I would have to do some videos. That's true. But I already push out as many videos as I can do. So that's my apology, to push out more videos as much as I can do. Yeah. Thanks for the follow, by the way, Kicha. Racer and that grind. Really appreciate it. But yeah, I think I try to stream, but for me streaming is more like I want to talk to you. I want to have some nice discussions and debates and showcases and stuff. But it's not something that let's say, I want to push my videos out. And if I notice that I have something else in real life to do, then I would rather cut down my stream time than not doing a video for a week. You know, the videos is something that I really want to keep pushing out because I think videos are very helpful for the community. My streams are fun, but it's not like the community is really, let's say, learning a lot from my streams. It's more about the videos that I can get new players' attention and that kind of stuff. So I think Guild Wars 2 community is a little bit lackluster, more on YouTube than on Twitch, actually. That's my take. Yeah. Exactly. And I was fishing. Yeah. That that's the truth. That's the truth. Looking to get into a simple to play power DPS class for fractals. I would say actually I like Power Virtuoso. I think Power Virtuoso, Power Scrapper, Power Reaper. There are a lot of builds that are actually quite easy to play. Yeah. Scrapper is probably the easiest, that's true. Yeah. Because you have barrier access as well, it helps a lot. Yeah. Making a living of Guild Wars 2 is not easy, so can't blame people for having other activities. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not. Of course, that would be really cool if I could make a living from it, but I'm not illusional and say that's what I aim for. Yeah, just saying. Yeah. Exactly. You should always have fun. Even if you're going for an easy build, always look for the build that you enjoy the most. So sometimes a more challenging build can be more fun to you, then you should go for this one. Because a challenging build will only be challenging at the beginning. If you play a really challenging build for 2 years, it will not be challenging anymore. You will have it like second nature. That's just how it works. You get accustomed to everything. Yeah. Yeah. Condimag, of course, is very easy, but it's not a power build. So is there content where Power Reaper isn't good or where people don't want it in their group aside from Condi fights, obviously? Power Reaper, I would say, is a very good pick. It doesn't have the highest burst damage. So if you compare it to, for example, with a Soul Beast or Power DH, it's not the highest burst damage, but it's very nice for the most part because you have some nice cleave as well. I think it's a very good option. Yeah. Yeah. So I wouldn't worry. If you really want to play a power option, Reaper is probably for the most part really good. I don't see a fight where I would say don't play Reaper. Not really. No. I would say there's none. Yeah. No. If you find Weaver farm, then that's good. I mean, you have a big problem in that sense that you will never have a meta build, or let's say you will not be the top DPS or you will not be the best build in PvP and World versus World. That's the sad truth. But I mean, Weaver is a cool spec. I like it as well. I think Weaver is one of the coolest class fantasies in the game, to be honest. That's my take here. But just the balancing is not there yet. That's the sad truth. Yeah, I mean, the 2 skill in Shroud is horrible. That's just one of the worst skills in the game. The tracking is so bad. It's so bad. It can be really annoying. Sometimes you just should not use it and just use auto tag instead. Yeah. I mean, Viva gets some buffs, that's true, but it's not changing too much. It's better in PvE, but it's not changing too much. I mean, 50 more power, 100 more power, that's not making the build, let's say, absolutely meta because of that. It has some issues as well. It's very... It also misses stability and protection in the competitive modes. I think it's just not perfect in what it's actually bringing to the table. Viva is just the trait line. If you look at the traits on Viva, you see the differences between a Catalyst and a Viva, and you think, okay, I have now insane amount of, look at this, how many stats and boons and stuff Catalyst get access to. And if you then swap to Viva, you get, I don't know, what do you get for Viva? You get Barrier, you get Cleanses, which are, I don't know, very hard to come by. You get a big damage buff, yes, but you cannot get Barrier then. You have Protection, which is not useful because you don't use all that many stances. Then you get a damage buff, another damage buff for Condi. So it's you have to get a lot of damage, but the utility that you get in this is nothing. It's like almost nothing. And it's very complex. It doesn't provide that much. So I think they should really rework a lot of the traits to make it more that you get utility as well. Personally, I think Viva is the most enjoyable Elementalist elite spec, but it's just very weak in the traits. I think it's very weak in how the traits actually change your gameplay. It's just giving you damage buffs. And I think that's not how you make a spec actually useful in most content. Yeah. But yeah, what can I say? . Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The balance patch is interesting. It's definitely interesting. We will see how it turns out, if they will really push out every single content that they actually, or every single change that they really wanted to do, or if they rework some, like the stability change on Thief, maybe. We will see. Yeah, and with that, I think I will also end my stream for today. So thanks everyone for watching. Be sure to check out my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Some nice Guild Wars 2 content on there. A lot of guides, especially for new players and veterans alike. So be sure to check that out. And thanks for all the follows. Thanks for the sub. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Sideline, for the follow. And I hope to see you all next week. Have a nice weekend. Have a nice day. See you around.